So now in order to make sure that users also have to provide a username when signing up, I'll go back to my auth.dart file and there to this form. And then maybe here below this email address text form field, though the exact position does not matter, I'll add another text form field. And this will be a text form field that's meant to be used for storing a username. Now on this text form field here, I'll therefore add a validator, as I did it for the email and the password as well. And here we could say that a username should be correct if it is maybe at least 4 characters long. So here I want to check if value is equal to null, or if value is empty, or if value length, or maybe the length after trimming it, is smaller than 4. So if either of these conditions is met, we know that the value is invalid and will therefore return an error message. And the error message could be, please enter a valid username, at least 4 characters, or a bit shorter, please enter at least 4 characters. Otherwise we return null, because otherwise we have no validation error. I'll also add a decoration, maybe above the validator, though it doesn't matter. And here that's an input decoration object, which I'll use to set the label text to a string. And here the label simply is username, and this can't be a const object. I'll set enable suggestions to false to make sure that the keyboard on the screen doesn't give the user any suggestions, because you typically don't want that when entering fictional names like a username. Suggestions often aren't helpful there. That's why I'm turning them off here for this text form field. And now, of course, we also need to add our onSaved method, or our onSaved function, where we get the value and where we then save the value, just as we did it on the password and the email fields. Therefore, of course, we need to add a new property to this class here, to this state class, and that's the entered username property, which initially holds an empty string like this. And this should now be updated whenever we save the form. Therefore, here in this onSaved function that belongs to the username text form field, I'll set entered username equal to value and add an exclamation mark, because of course here we know that this won't be null. That's how we can add such a username field here. Of course, it should only be shown if we're in sign up mode, not if we're logging in. Therefore, here we should also add a if check, where we're checking if we're not in login mode, so if we are signing up, and only then this text form field should be added to this list of widget that belongs to this column. Otherwise, it should not be shown. If we're logging in, this should not be showing up. So that's how we then show such a form field. Of course, this data now also should be submitted once we are submitting the form. So once this submit method is triggered. Therefore, here, where we're reaching out to Firebase Firestore, instead of using toBedone as a username, I now want to use the entered username. And now we can save that all, reload, log out again, and we don't see the username field here when logging in. But if I create an account, I now do see it here. So now again, we can take a picture here, use an unused email address and a password, and then here also a username like max1. And if I now sign up, this takes a short while, we're logged in, and now in Firestore we see a new document, and there we now got this username stored as well. So that's this feature added.